I'm Chloe.
I'm Mirna.
My name's NikiAnne, and I live at Earthaven Ecovillage, an intentional community in Western North Carolina. And I am so excited to be holding this ritual in a space that is with a group of people who have committed themselves to learning what it means to be human in connection to a place with other humans. So many of us are walking with pain these days. So much of that pain is something we don't have to carry, that it's manifesting as disease in a way that if we laid it down outside of ourselves, it wouldn't take our bodies. There are things that we cannot digest in our own bodies. The body of the earth can partner with us to help digest. So the basis of this ritual is we cannot do this alone. As it was told to me by Sabamfu, she and Malidoma Somé were sent by their elders from their villages in Burkina Faso, West Africa, to bring ritual back to the West. That they had a sense that we had lost our way in connection to our practices of knowing how to grieve together.
We're not claiming to be from one particular spiritual tradition, but rather reaping the gifts and the gems and the jewels of many different traditions that have been offered by teachers who see the need for this and see the need for adaptive ways for these technologies and rituals to be more accessible and more readily available to folks in the modern industrial world, for whom lineage and tradition for many of us has been severed and broken.
It's really something that we're all learning how to do again together. It's our birthright to find our way back to the well, where we can resource, where we can cleanse, where we can heal, where we can hold one another and be held by the holy.
Some other teachers whose work we draw from and who we've learned from are Martine Prechtel, who I studied with for several years, Joanna Macy, who brought just the concept of grief as part of spiritual and cultural hygiene into the West from a different angle, Lawrence Cole, who is a friend and a song leader and really anchors that piece of sound and song and music making as so essential to working with grief and moving energies. And I just want to note that, as NikiAnne mentioned, this is inspired by and drawn from many of these traditions, but it is its own thing.
And, you know, so that you have a taste of what might be invited of you if you choose to come join us, there are many ways throughout the course of the day that we'll be engaging with contacting what wants to be felt and moved inside of us. There will be opportunities for getting to know others and lifting the lid on what griefs we're walking with in our lives, what experiences want to be witnessed and seen. We'll be working with nature. We'll be in beautiful forested, protected space that'll allow us to go on sojourns out in the forest. We'll be working with songs and music, and don't worry if you don't consider yourself a singer or a musician. This is a really welcoming, inviting space where everybody gets to put their voice in. You don't have to be a singer, and you can also just let it wash over you. But that element of music can be so supportive to touch things inside of us that want movement. Altars, we'll be working with a big central altar and a forgiveness altar and an ancestor altar that are going to be anchoring and giving us a place to focus, putting our sacred items and maybe pictures of our loved ones or things that can represent that we're grieving, so that it doesn't have to live just in the internal. For this time, it's going to be in a place where we can see it outside of ourselves and everybody can see and hold that, what we're all carrying together in one place.
There's something really different about grieving or expressing the emotions that are like off limits to express in a group of people where that is the shared intention and there's a shared sense of permission to do that. I am not like a crier. I actually have a hard time crying when other people are around. I tend to process my emotions in private. Like I'll go to the river, go to the woods, and I have my sense of communion. But the first time that I went to a grief ritual that was like a communal, community-oriented space, I was really nervous because I'm like, I'm just going to be that like stone-faced person kind of going through the motions. And at first I was, and that was okay. Like it still felt really good to be there and to be a part of that collective experience. And it's funny because that okayness with how I was holding myself as sort of blank and numb at first helped open the way for tears to come, for, some wailing to come, for just a big release to happen for me. And I think it feels important for me to share that because not all of us just come and are ready to express or are comfortable expressing, but there's something really beautiful about the holding of a communal container where there isn't a right or wrong way to do it that allowed me, and I think allows other people too, to move through what's really honestly there and just allow that authentic expression to take place. And the holding and the witnessing of others is like really supportive in a unique way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think most of us, most of the time, living in these times are completely full in our nervous systems, and there's so much information moving about what's happening in the world that has us overwhelmed, and I find that grief has the capacity to empty that out so that we have the presence to show up in service again. And it also helps us to know in a really potent and powerful way that we're not facing it alone. Yeah, and I think a lot of the medicine that this grief work coming to the West has brought that we've lost and that we don't have anymore is an experience in our bodies of what it is to be in village and in community again. There's been such privatization of the sorrows of our lives, of our losses and thresholds, and it makes us weak in the face of that which we need to hold, and it communicates to our deep animal bodies that we don't have power as a people to stand up to what needs stood up to in this moment in the world. And these rituals of grieving that have been shared with us, that have been brought back to us, give us this potent opportunity to practice feeling as one body again, practicing the skills of becoming again a village to one another, and that sense that we can both be deeply impacted by the vulnerability of our own agony and sorrow, and also sometimes within, the same hour have the capacity to hold others and to show up in that way so that the container is strong for others to go to that place within themselves.
It's the seed to be adapted and taken to any of our respective communities. It's tools, it's practices, it's technologies, it's ways of relating that are adaptable, transferable, and personal to not only us, but the people we're sharing the world with.
There's this interesting paradox, too, that so many of us are seeking a sense of connectedness and belonging with one another, a deep sense of kinship with other people, and like it's okay to be me, and we've got each other. And yet we live in a culture that has this long list of like not okay emotions and experiences, grief being one of them. And I think I'll pause here and just say, when we say grief, that can include numbness, that can include rage, that can include sorrow, that can include indignance, indifference. It can include lots of different ways that we feel that we don't allow ourselves to feel, and that culturally we're not allowed to feel in public. And this really beautiful and fascinating paradox is that when we do come together and allow those feelings, the ability to feel a sense of joy and love and interrelationship and interconnection and belonging is just incredibly potentiated by the willingness to share in that very universal experience of loss and pain and grief.
Mm-hmm.
When I showed up to the first grief ritual in 2011 with Sabamfu Some, I didn't have a big loss that had really happened in my life. I didn't have a big death or a big event that felt like the tears that I had in myself and the pain that I felt like I was carrying was warranted. And it was in that container that really validated the ocean of tears that wanted to move through belonged. And it really gave me a place to say, or to feel, to experience that all grief is valid and all of it is welcome and honored, that there's not a hierarchy of grief. There's not the grief Olympics that we're trying to show up for or avoid in the collective experience, that we're all coming with whatever it is we're coming with, whether it's ancestral grief or grief that we've accumulated from the lived experiences in this life, whatever the origin is, it's all something that wants to move. It's all in the waters. How I understand it, it's that when we're moving grief and tending it and becoming familiar and befriending it, it's making way for vitality and joy and for our gifts to move through alongside that grief. The grief's not being removed, it's just not driving in the driver's seat as much as it may be without it being tended and acknowledged.
Mm-hmm. And there's really this whole reframe of what the medicine of grief is that comes through these cultural technologies, just in placing it on an altar, in making it sanctioned and holy again. And, you know, the way I understand it to be for the spirits is as food, that it's actually a life-nourishing act to give back our tears and to give back this great capacity that we have as human beings to let emotion flow through us. And what echoes back when we lay it down in a sacred context is not only that we're receiving the medicine of the village and that we're doing something in togetherness that normally we do in private in this moment in our culture, but it's this echoing back of all of life holding us. We're presencing with the waters that move and carry our emotions. We're working with the earth. We're working with fire. And we're working with the spirits of the air. And really remembering through this practice that we're held in a much wider fabric of belonging than we may ordinarily feel connected to.
The way that the three of us hold spaces for grief and hold grief rituals are very open and inviting to all different folks, different walks of life, different belief systems. So I would not be honest if I said there wasn't a spiritual element, but it's not a religious experience. And there's room for different beliefs and different levels of comfort with spiritual technologies to feel at home and feel welcome in this space. So each part of the process is an invitation, and folks are welcome to just sit and be with the group and wait for the moment that they want to dive deeper or connect or participate in any particular way. All of our presences and all of the ways that we show up are part of what creates this container. So I know for some people, like, oh, going to do a grief ritual with a big group of people and there's going to be altars and there's going to be songs and there's going to be prayers. Like, I don't know if that's my thing. I just really want to speak to the sense of welcome that the three of us are really committed to, because we feel like this opportunity just has the potential to benefit every single person who feels the call to walk into this space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and one might think that they're coming for themselves and you are. And it's also on behalf of your community and your family, and for all those who aren't able to show up to that space and to tend those cords of connection, those communal hygiene pathways. And so just thank you. Thank you for doing it on behalf of many.
We're all babies and toddlers along this road, at this stage of reclaiming these teachings, these practices, and we're just trying to accumulate a little bit of cultural topsoil here to pass along to the generations that are coming up behind us. And one of the ways to fertilize that soil is through composting, that which we've inherited that is no longer serving the health and the well-being of life on this planet, and there's so much to compost. So it's really a wonderful time to be of service through showing up to tend that which is dying, that which needs to be sent back into the ground, and to just learn together, again, how to be a village, how to be a community, and how to be a people that knows how to let our grief flow